Hello and welcome to the Media Room. Ever since it began in 2008, the IPL has been this big event which every marketer wants to be part of. It doesn't matter what the product is, but they want to be part of the IPL. And over the years, the event has got bigger and bigger. And as the internet came into play, there were other dimensions which were added to the whole play around the Indian Premier League, which TV could not do because TV is a linear medium. So there were memes, there are groups, there are chats, people are talking to celebrities, to cricketers, they're exchanging scores, they're playing games. So there's a whole community, there's a whole ambient media ecosystem which has built up on the internet around the IPL, around cricket, and around a whole lot of other things. But we're talking about the IPL in this particular episode. How it is that marketers use this particular ecosystem, how do they look at it, what does it do for their brands? Those are some of the things that we decided to talk about recently. And we used YouTube as a metaphor or as a symbol of the internet because at about 445 million unique users, YouTube is roughly 85% of all the people browsing online are on YouTube at any given point. So it made sense to look at YouTube, and all these communities, many of them operate on YouTube. So that's how we ended up looking at YouTube, and to discuss this, to take us through what these little hubs, whether they are forming around cricket, cooking, it could be around education. There are a whole lot of things which YouTube throws up. It is the world's audition theater for entertainment, information, and news, as I call it. How it is that marketers look at it is what this discussion focuses on. And to do that, today I have with me Anand Bhaskaran, who's the head of marketing at BigBasket. I have Shubha Pai, who's head of sales and solutions at YouTube, and Aakash Chopra, who's a former cricketer, who's also a commentator and a YouTube content creator, obviously around cricket. So let's see what they have to say about the building of this ambient media ecosystem. Over to them. So first, Anand, you have to tell me what it is that you were looking at. I mean, how long have you been on the IPL and what it is that you were looking for this time? And how did it all pan out? And then I want Shubha and Aakash to jump in. Because first I want to use the IPL example, explain to my listeners what it is that we're talking about, then get into the details.
Sure. Thanks, Vanita, for having me on the show. So we've been associated with IPL now for 2 years. It started with our partnership with RCB last year, and since then we've expanded it to also include a bunch of YouTube creators. So, for example, this year we have Harsha Bogle and we have Ashwin, and we have this Aussie podcast called The Great Cricketer as well. So it's a portfolio of different creators associated with cricket and IPL. The reason we thought of this, Vanita, is really a couple of things. Firstly, we noticed, in fact, it started with our own behavior. We realized that while we were watching the matches on OTT or TV, we were also spending a lot of time reviewing analysis of matches on especially on YouTube. So it started with our behavior. We have a bunch of ardent sports fans in our team. So we realized, hey, we're doing this. And it also turned out that this was backed by larger trends as well. So if you look at the data, it turns out that not just second screen viewing, but this whole thing of looking at analysis turned out to be a big trend. And hence we thought, okay, let's try this out. And what we realized as we embarked on this is when we met friends or when we met partners, we realized that, hey, people were telling us, you guys are on RCB and, we saw you on Great Cricketer. And, that, I mean, obviously we look at a bunch of data in terms of the number of views, etc. But I think some of the anecdotal feedback that we got also, made us realize that, hey, there's something working here. And therefore, we doubled on it in 2025.
My point is, double down in what way? Were you advertising on IPL or on the discussions around YouTube? Because, and for my listeners also, IPL actually as a property belongs to JioStar. And Jio Hotstar and the whole Viacom family of channels and Star family of channels actually runs that particular cricket event. But there's a whole lot of concurrent content which plays out on YouTube, and which is what marketers like you use. So is that like a parallel thing running to what you were doing on the other sort of, I won't say linear, but the where the main property was playing? What was happening there?
Yeah. So in our case, Vanita, it was not parallel because we, at least over the last couple of years, we haven't advertised on the main IPL property at all. So our entire strategy is the surround, right? So,
Oh,
and
that's
what I
interesting.
mean, yeah, and what I mean by doubling down is, so for instance, last year we just partnered with the men's RCB team, and that was pretty much it.
Mm.
This year we partnered with the men's team as well as the women's team. So that's one aspect of doubling down. The other is this year we are also present with the great cricketer and Ashwin and Harsha Bhogle. So that's how we're doing it, and we're doing it all with surround. So there's nothing on the main live content.
That's interesting. So that's where Akash comes in, I think, because he's a creator of a whole lot of that surround content. Akash, you want to jump in here and what it is that brands are bringing, what is YouTube bringing, and ultimately IPL नहीं होता तो आप लोग क्या करते फिर?
No,
Which is surrounding this whole event. So
Nini, thank you so much for having me here. My throat is a little iffy right now, but I'm in a bad profession with a bad throat. Wrong profession, rather. See, when we talk about analysis, when we talk about creating content, I have been creating content for the last 7 years, and we created this niche where nobody else was actually doing it on an individual basis. It was more driven by the big media houses. They would do what they do because it was always a branch out thing from the main stuff, whether it's the Crick Buzz or the Crick Info of the world, where they want people to be on the app, but then they'll also put smaller bite-sized content on YouTube because they wanted their presence to be there. But and the broadcasters were also there, but not there because they are, I don't know, they have their preferences to be to where they want to be and where they want people to be, and that opened up an opportunity, a window where a creator like me I was there on the broadcast channels throughout. I've been there for the last 12, 13 years, but I realized that
you must tell our listeners that you were a cricketer, you played test cricket for India.
correct. So that's nice. But so being on the broadcast also, so people were listening to me always. I was there on the pre-match, post-match, mid-match commentary, and all of that. And then you may actually feel that why would actually the same viewer come to me to listen to actually listen to my views a day after? But
Exactly.
we actually but we observed a very interesting trend. So we started this, and we started this for fun. There was no real incentive. I started with one of my colleagues. I said, okay, fine, let's do this. In fact, my nephew. So I said, okay, let's start putting a bite-sized content at 7 a.m. in the morning. The match finishes the evening before, and then you put it out. We did it a few days. And we tried with different formats because back in the day YouTube was all about longer format, not really 3 minute bite-sized pieces. They were not the thing, and 7 a.m. was definitely not the slot. So because people are still sleeping or whatever, they're going to work and school and whatnot. So we started like that, and once we missed it, we didn't post anything. We were just doing this for fun, so we were doing it like a video every day, 7 a.m. We just putting out there. One day we missed, and then the comments were like, where are you? Why are you not there? What has happened? We missed the deadline and people were there. I said, oh wow, okay. So over a period of time, it became an obligation actually that I have to be there. It started as my own on my own volition that I want to do this. But soon it became a user driven thing, a viewer driven thing, who would be there every single day, irrespective of what happened the previous night. So we called it hashtag Akashwani. It just worked well with my name as well. And then it just kept growing. It grew to a level, and I kid you not, uh, while I was playing for India, I was always wearing a helmet and either batting or short leg. I mean, many people won't even recognize my face if they were to see me on the cricket field because I was never visible in a sense. But now, after Akashwani and YouTube was the primary platform, of course, I saw banners in the stadium and I was like, wow. Hashtag Akashwani 30-meter big banner with a big picture. I said, who am I? Like this was connection. This was connection that I was connecting to the masses on a one-on-one basis. See, broadcast or any other form of content creation, whatever we see on OTTs and wherever else. See, we always talk at people. We don't talk to people. We are
Mm.
always talking amongst each other, and they are that passive audience that is just listening to us, thinking, oh, these are godlike people. They know everything. So let's
Well,
listen to them because they are the Gyani people. But when you do, and that's what I did all my my content journey, that I never talked at people, I talked to people, which also meant very real, very raw, at times, that you're conversing, you're not again imposing your thoughts on them, you're actually talking to them all the time, so you break the fourth wall. And that's what I think YouTube and the content universe, because allowed me to do. And the connect has been absolutely outstanding. So just to answer your last question, what would I do if IPL wasn't there? Ma'am, it won't matter. I do a video a day, 365 days a year for last 7 years. So IPL is a very tiny, minuscule part of it.
around around the real event which is happening, right? That real
Yeah.
event is happening.
And we pivoted also. See, we pivoted also. It's not necessarily that every time there is not an event. There are dark days as well. There are dark days where there's no cricket. And then you figure out a strategy, you figure out different forms of content which is not dated, which is not time stamped in a sense. And we experimented with a lot of different various ways of creating content. And we have figured out our sweet spot, what people like, listen to the feedback, and what generally just follow the metrics, and it'll give you a fair idea how much it is getting consumed, what is the watch time, and all of that. And you will get an idea what your audience wants to see, hear, and all of that. So we do it. We do it every single day relentlessly.
I just want to get YouTube in at this point. Shubha, hi. Shubha, IPL is like one big, and I first want you to talk about IPL. It's like one big genre of content where you use all the surrounding, and in the days of linear, I mean, when I used to watch TV also, it used to be you have all the stats, everything. So all this concurrent stuff, all the parallel stuff, which could drive engagement, has obviously moved online because the internet offers that facility and the YouTube offers that opportunity. How significant is IPL or any form of cricket for that matter for you as a content genre within? Because I know you could probably have silos like sports or food or uh, you know comedy, a whole lot of them. And you do those top 20 trends or something every year. I remember I see these lists. So if you could come at it from your perspective as head of ad sales and tell us how big it is as a genre and what does it mean and what does therefore this big basket or this whole package mean for?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much, Vanita, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege. And I know you spoke by saying, I'm a print journalist and all of that, but we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. So, it's genuinely a privilege to be here and talking to you. My heart is full listening to what Aakash said, because every time YouTubers talk and CrickTubers talk, the kind of goosebumps that you get and the way they talk about their experience, nothing comes close. Nothing I say will certainly come close. But a lot of what Anand also mentioned, is so much backed by data. So in IPL 2024, fans actually spent 20% more time on non-live content. So there is a clear shift towards on-demand viewing and deeper engagement. And we also see this growing appetite for on-demand cricket in our search interest. So it surged 4x in the last 4 years. And cricket-related content on YouTube has seen more than 50 billion views in the last 12 months. This year, we are waiting for the tournament to sort of end to go back and look at our data. But the initial reads that we saw on both these parameters is already beating last year's average. And why YouTube? I firmly believe that YouTube is content's biggest stage in the world, and nothing lends itself to fandom and fanship as much as cricket does. And therefore, this is like a match made in heaven. And 88% of cricket fans actually consume, like Akash and I think Anand both were saying, consume sports news. They watch expert analysis. They're watching informal talk shows, fan generated sports content. that's sort of very, very integral to the format and to the platform. And the rise of cricktubers and the growing appetite for cricket content is pretty much a reflection of that. So that's how big it is, and it's not just cricket, by the way. So there are there are other emerging sports, and they are fairly democratized. You would think of a cricket fan in a certain way. Sort of the 655 million odd sports fans that exist, actually 36% are women, 43% are Gen Z, and nearly 60% are rural. They live in rural areas. So this diversity we often don't think into account when you're thinking of an archetype of what a cricket fan is or what a sports fan is. And there are other emerging categories as well. You have badminton, you have football. It's massive. So football and kabaddi in India have nearly 100 million viewership. So those are massive emerging sports bases. We see that play out on the platform. And I think there's one thing that you spoke about, of niches, like sports is a separate genre, then maybe you have stand up comedy. There is so much crossover that happens, particularly during IPL. There's like there are groups of people imagining themselves as being part of, let's say, Mumbai Indians and RCB, and participating in exams. What would that look like? Or doing some piece of comedy around that. So it's just creativity hits, I think, a new everyone just keeps pushing the boundary on YouTube as far as our creators are concerned, and we see all of this happening in multiple languages. So some of the partnerships that Anand spoke to you about, like the one that they have with Ashwin, extremely technical content in Tamil, resonates massively with that fan base. He also spoke about Danish Sate, and I'm an RCB fan, and the women have done it for us, and they won the match last year. So I'm super happy. I'm not going to jinx this year's by saying anything, but the work that they're doing with Danish, and they have an entire segment about learning Kannada, because here in Karnataka, RCB has an extremely diverse base. It's not just Kannada speaking base, and therefore they have a segment on how to learn a language, and Virat Kohli is participating, and other cricketers are. So it's just so much of two-way interaction, two-way communication, community building, that we really do believe that YouTube is pretty much the three C's of cricket. So there are conversations that are propelled forward by culture. There are creators who amplify everything, and at the heart of it is a community that just absolutely loves it so much that they will ask Akash, "Why are you not posting content? What happened? Are you not okay? Are you feeling okay?" So that's the passion.
Super. But tell me one thing, Anand. When you look IPL, like Shubha said, and Akash also said, that IPL is just one property. There's a whole lot of other things that happen on YouTube. When I look at the broader portfolio of what BigBasket does with YouTube, where does IPL and cricket come in, and what are the other sort of areas that you look at? And you look, if I look at cricket, its ability to drive engagement is huge. Sports by nature is like that. Or comedy by nature would be like that, or cooking by nature would be like that as a genre. So when you look at it, and you are a retail giant, so how do you look at it, at the portfolio of what it is that you seek to do when you go onto a YouTube and you engage with this particular audience?
Yeah, I think, Vanita, what we are trying to do, the larger objective is to have a deep emotional connect with our audiences. And as Akash said, when people watch YouTube creators, they develop a connect with the creator. It's not necessarily for IPL or for a particular tournament. I think they develop a connect with the creator, right? And it's a deep emotional connect, and that's what we want to ride on. So for example, with the great cricketer, we partnered with them for multiple cricket tournaments, not just for IPL. So that's one way we think about it. The second way we think about it is we partner with creators beyond just cricket. So for example, with someone like a Danish Seth, we have partnerships which span through the year. Right. So that's second. Third, on sports, cricket is the biggest sport by a margin in India, and therefore we want to have that connect with cricket. But in addition, we also have partnerships with participative sports, which are things like running. So, for example, one of the things that, and this is not on YouTube, but this is offline. We have a partnership with the Tata Ultra Marathon, and we have partnerships with other running events as well. Right, and that rides on the trend that participative sports are really increasing in terms of demand in the country. So that's the third thing. The fourth is we've also partnered on YouTube with there's a show called Chef It Up, which we partnered with, which is in the cooking genre. So we try to do that as well. So essentially, the idea is to have a deep emotional connect and to partner with a bunch of creators and to ride on trends, and we try to do that through the year.
No, if I flip this and ask you, at what stage in a year, or at what point in the year, what are your brand objectives, or what are your marketing objectives when you're looking at YouTube in your in your ecosystem? Is a marketing plan, there's a brief which is made. I mean, I don't have to tell you the whole process. You had that. But where in your whole evolution stage, in all the variables that go into play when you choose a particular genre and a particular vehicle, how does BigBasket look at this whole thing? I mean, for example, IPL. Sure, it drives engagement, but is there some particular brand that you were looking at? Is there some particular service you were looking at to drive, or it was just, keep people reminded, keep them reminding, or keep that awareness thing going? What was it?
Yeah. So a couple of things, Vanita. Firstly, in terms of business objectives, Bangalore is where we started, and that has been a focus city for us for several years. And that's why we thought we'll partner with RCB as well as Bangalore-based creators, right? And that really was the essence of the RCB partnership. So if you look at what we've done, even for example, the films that we've done with RCB, it has a very strong Bangalore connect, right? So that's one strategic objective. The second strategic objective, Vanita, is now while we started with online grocery, now it's morphed into quick commerce, and one of the things we are trying to do is to establish a connect with 10-minute delivery, right? So when we work with any of the creators, be it great cricketer or Harsha, we try to ensure that there's a strong connect with 10-minute delivery as a message, and each creator has their own ways of bringing that out. So, for example, if you look at the great cricketer, they have quirky ways of bringing out 10-minute delivery. Ashwin, Harsha have a slightly different approach. So, 10-minute delivery is one of the key strategic messages that we want to get across with these partnerships.
Right. So you use it at whatever point for whatever, Shubha, you mentioned something about the distribution of 36%, but from whatever I can see, um, the internet is largely, I mean, at least up to 3/4 is seems to be male dominated. And is that true for cricket as well? So there is male participation. I mean, it's not to say, but I was looking at some stats earlier for some other story, and this came out that this is in line with the fact that the internet is male dominated in India.
So cricket and fandom can be across a spectrum. So I can be a fan of IPL. I'm a casual cricket follower otherwise. I will not know what happens in an England series or a test series. So I'm not a hardcore cricket fan. I could be drawn into IPL because there is so much else that happens in IPL. There is a lot of it's more entertainment than hardcore sports and all of that. So there is room firstly for that entire spectrum to exist. And I don't want to definitely have this bias because I have a lot of women colleagues who are ardent cricket fans, who are sportswomen themselves, and therefore I don't want to make a a very generic statement. But if you are a fan who is more a casual fan like me, there is room for you to sort of exist and come alive, really alive during an IPL, and sort of be a little bit more dormant the rest of the time. There are other passion points that I have on YouTube, which I'm extremely actively engaged on. In fact, the show that Anand spoke about, and I almost unmuted myself and said, "Hey, you forgot about Sanjot Kheer." I know Sanjot Kheer because I follow his recipes, and I love the way he connects with the audience, and so therefore that is my passion point, and I connect with him. So there is an opportunity. I am catching BigBasket message when it is there. The point that you make about the big screen is extremely pertinent. So according to a very, very recent research, a data point as of, I think, December last year, anyone who's a logged in user on average is actually watching 40 million hours of content, the consolidated set of people who are logged in viewers in India. And this is on a daily basis. So there is a massive jump on YouTube. So this is YouTube consumption on the big screen, like you pointed out, which makes very friends and family collective viewing, and there is long form content getting watched, on average longer content getting watched. even as Anand was answering his question about, therefore, what is a marketing strategy, I think the good thing about a platform like YouTube is there is enough AI in the ads, product offering, which, as long as you know who you're reaching out to, who is your core audience, what is it that they like doing, and you are sorted on your creator, creative formats, long form, you have short form, all of that. The system can decide how to optimize for your marketing objective. So you brought up the point about, is it about awareness? Do you want to stay always on? Is there a specific objective? So let's say Anand's objective is to maintain a certain amount of salience throughout the year, and his team uses IPL as a moment to sort of pulse it up, dial it
Hmm.
really up. So
Hmm.
for that dialing up, there will be solutions. He can, of course, he's shot a wonderful ad with Danish Seth and the team. He could put that up on the masthead. So the first thing I see when I log in, if I'm a BigBasket user and he's reaching out to me, I will see that ad on the big screen in its full glory. He will create snippets which are short form. So when I'm, just wanting to pass time, I'm not a very leaned in viewer behavior. I'm swiping through. I see Danish Seth, I see RCB, I care about both things. I will actually watch that ad. Maybe he has a message in there saying, we're running a special discount available only for this week. So I'll click on it and I will do something. But that whole thing is the AI magic which powers the ads. It's across different screen types. I don't no longer have to think, will this play on CTV? I can dial that up, sure, but the system takes care of it. If Vanita is a BigBasket customer and she's watching CTV, likely she will be shown the BigBasket ad, as much as if Anand is, he's just getting ready for his day and he's swiping through shorts and he's a customer, he will see the ad. So I think that stitching together piece has become a lot more seamless, and there are offerings there. Yes.
Akash, in the people who engage with you, especially on cricket, and do you see any? I'm just a little fascinated by this female. Not because I'm a woman. I'm sorry. I'm just wondering about the diversity of the audience. Do you see any patterns there in terms of not just male, female? Also, is it younger, older? What kind of things? I mean, anything specific that you see in the people who follow you and who engage with you?
Oh, yeah, it's an interesting one actually. So, in fact, we have created a cohort. So we actually look after. We've got a big team now. We look after even Anjum Chopra's YouTube channel, who's an
Yes.
India cricketer, of course. Her core audience is going to be a lot more female centric, and she does a lot of women's cricket content, from interviews to covering the WPL and whatever the Indian cricket team is doing as well. And that's picking up. That's picking up. But from my POV, I have tried, and that's what I keep doing, just experimenting with the format and the content that we create. I have realized that my core audience is the male audience. It happens to be the male audience, which is from 13, 14 years till 35 will be my sweet spot, and there is a bit more on either side, but it's generally male audience, and that is why, I mean, my focus is generally on the male cricket that I tend to cover as well. Maybe it's the connection that I don't get to cover so much of women's cricket, so maybe there is a disconnect there as well.
But is it flipped for Anjum? Does she get more female audiences and less male audiences? Does it flip
I,
ever for? I'm just
I
curious.
I'd like to assume so. I can confirm. I don't have the real data points yet. I mean, I've not delved deeper, but I'm assuming because I think on YouTube, uh, and in the content space, all of us tend to connect with the creator. Even when, so for example, I watch a lot of Vantage. Vantage is the show that's hosted by Palki Sharma. It is a geopolitics show. It comes on first post, but the fact is, I don't care about first post personally. I just care about that one show, and I am hooked onto it.
Yeah.
'Cause that is my interest. I love geopolitics, so I want to see that one hour show or listen to it if I can't watch. So I think it's all connected, where you're connecting to that one show, one individual, which is a very personalized experience, where I want him or her in this form and shape and whatever, and I would want to consume that sort of content. So that's been my experience. But for Anjum, I can get back to you. I can ask her.
That's okay. There's an old adage in television. Anand probably has heard it that people are not loyal to television channels; they're loyal to shows. They're loyal to the personalities. And the internet has released that whole, I mean, I call YouTube, and for a decade now, I've called YouTube the audition theater of the world. It is an audition theater. You come and do anything. You make a roti there, or you make a chicken curry there, or you show something on cricket there. But one thing, he mentioned that, and the reason also why I wanted to bring up any is, and this is something I'm finding in a lot of interviews I'm doing with people recently. I just spoke to someone on movie marketing. That the YouTube and the internet, it's very targeted, and it's very specific. And like you said, the AI, Shubha, you said the AI helps you, so it catches Anand at the because it knows, so it will catch me when I'm, or Aakash. But does that specificity, does that sharp pinpointing, does it remove all serendipity from the advertising or the consumer experience? I'll explain what I'm trying to say. For example, in movie marketing, when you are too specific, you're reaching out only to the people who are likely to watch Mission Impossible. But there might have been a 20-30% spillover from other people who were exposed to the messages around Mission Impossible, but who now don't know that it's releasing. I think Mission Impossible is a bad film to use because it is like such a, you will be living under, mass film. So let's say a 12th fail, or a, Manjumal Boys, or whatever,
Yeah.
But if you're, it is so specific that you lose any spillover audience you might have. Now, whether it's for a movie or a magazine or a bunch of groceries, the fact is you could be reaching other audiences, but because there's no wastage, there's no spillage, there is no extra audience. So that's serendipity. So, that it's all fine to say 50% of all advertising is waste, but out of that 50%, some gold comes out. Your market keeps expanding.
Yes.
I don't know what Anand feels about that. I want Anand and you to.
Maybe I can take that, right? So
Yeah.
I think, Vanita, I think I completely agree that reach really matters. So we are always wary about being too overly specific. I think reach does matter. I think that's just the reality. I think to Shubha's point, I think, for example, when you're running a brand campaign, what you will end up doing is so as an advertiser, you want reach. So you'll say that, hey, I want this reach, and you aim for a particular frequency. Where you let the algorithm do its job is, what you do is you feed in a bunch of video formats, right? 9:16 and a bunch of video formats, and where you let the algorithm do its job is to figure out, okay, what form factor to show which viewer at what time, right? So you don't necessarily restrict the audience. Where you use the algorithm is to figure out what kind of an asset to show what viewer at what time. So that's the way I would think about it. Very much agree that reach matters a lot. You don't want to be overly specific and overly narrow. And in fact, there's one, there's this marketing guru called Rory Sutherland, and one of the things he says is, the waste is the portion of marketing that actually does its job. And I think I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
I loved your question, Vanita. And if I may, actually, there are two parts to it. So one is, of course, the ads part, and I'm so glad that Anand clarified when you approach something with a goal of wider reach, you go wide, and then the system does what it has to do. However, there's a beauty in organic content as well. So I would have never thought of myself being a fan of black comedy, like African American stand-up comedy. I would have never thought I would relate so much to Dave Chappelle's comedy, or watch the entire show then, when it comes on Netflix, etc. For me, that happened because as I was doing my, content watching, I got recommended snippets. And those snippets stayed with me so much that I went later, and so I was almost recruited into a category, to your point, which I was not a part of earlier. And this happened purely organically. In fact, this is one of the things we tell our media partners, especially, like if you're launching a new show on Netflix, firstly, put enough organic content out there, and even in your advertising parts, please be expansive, because you could actually end up recruiting somebody who never had the intent to go there. And so to your point, it broadens the content if you do your organic plus ads really well.
But the algo is showing you what it thinks is related content. It is not unrelated content, correct?
It is. Action, in my view, food content is what I go to YouTube for. and some entertainment content. You're saying something, Anand?
Yeah, no, maybe I'll take a shot at this, and maybe I'll take off from what we do in our marketing, and then maybe give an example of what I think YouTube might be doing, right? So, Vanita, in our communications to our existing customers, right? So we have three buckets. So we call it relevancy, adjacency, and discovery, right? Relevancy is products that you've already bought, similar to content that you've already consumed. Adjacency is it's very similar to what you've seen, but maybe a little different. And discovery is completely serendipity led. And what we've discovered is that you need to have a decent portion of discovery. So maybe 50-60% of your advertising or your communications has to be about discovery. And what I would assume the YouTube algorithm also does is, obviously it's trying to feed you content that you're interested in, but it will also have a certain portion that it's going to figure out, hey, you might be interested in this, and there's probably a portion of discovery attached as well. And I think what we notice in our feeds also has that concept, like, let's say, portion of discovery is what I would imagine.
No, but I thought, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm not the IT person here or the software engineer here, but the algo is trained to keep serving up again and again and again things that you like, things that you watch, or things that you engage. How do you get out of that trap as a marketer, or even as someone because you also want your marketers to get a wider reach? So how do you get out of that trap? For example, Aakash is doing videos because he thinks a larger proportion of his, but maybe if he did changed his thing a little and started doing more content around women also, he might just get, I don't know, Akash, I'm just hypothesizing here.
So, from a creator point of view, I experiment with different forms of content to the extent, and it's not just restricted to women, by the way. So, historical pieces, for example. So, yeah. So, for historical pieces, for example, reliving 1983 World Cup victory. Now this is the anniversary, and you relive that, and then you sit and watch. How are consumers, actually the viewers, reacting to it? If you do it like, and of course you have to do it enough number of times to really collate sizable data which is dependable, and then you can plan your strategy. So you do enough pieces to understand whether it is sticking or it is completely missing. So from my audience, I realized that they are unfortunately not interested in the historical pieces either. If I were to recreate whatever, I mean, and they don't buy it as much. So I did enough, then I moved away. For the women's thing as well. So I actually, for one of the events, I had Julan Goswami as my guest, because I thought she's an authority on women's cricket, and I would not be, and I don't want to be one either. If I can get Julan or Anjum. Again, so I did the entire tournament, committed to it, but then the response wasn't as good. So then again, I pivoted away. So I still do it, but I keep it a very small proportion of the whole content that I create, because in the end, I'm not creating content for myself. I am very clear that if I were to just create for myself, I'll talk to the mirror, and that's about it. Why do I need to distribute it? If I'm putting it out there, people must consume it, and it'll be, naive of me to think that they do not matter. I create for them, so they matter the most. So I've realized this is the way to do it. But then there are other ways as well, where if match analysis doesn't work, I would still do history. So we do an animated kind of history pieces. We call it his story or her story. And there I put even a non-cricket story. And it does fly over a period of time, because it is an inspirational story. It's a motivational story, and it's a wonderful story, a heartwarming story. So that is not gender specific. So I pretty much know, actually, this kind of content is going to stick. This is something that going to get me views immediately for in a short duration, something that is going to actually grow over a period of time. So those are the things that I think one has to be really intelligent about and aware, because if you're not aware, you end up creating content that nobody is actually interested in, and a lot of us actually get too obsessed with what we create. So we love it so much, we think it's the best, but it is not sometimes.
But here, there's a counter twist. This is some of the best filmmakers in the world make a film that they want to make, and it connects. So works both ways. Honestly speaking, I mean, somebody like me, I have to write something that people will read, or I have to produce a show which people will hear.
Yeah.
And that's how. Shubha, tell me one thing. You mentioned ad formats, and in the brief that Anuja sent me, also there was. Are there some patterns? Are there some interesting trends that you're seeing on how marketers are, what formats are working, in what sort of audience cohorts, etc.? Because YouTube is becoming one of the biggest. CTV is becoming one of your biggest.
Surfaces, yes.
Successes, and globally, I think your CEO also mentioned some that we dominate the living room too now. So on ad formats, what kind of trends are we seeing, and are there trend specific? So say a BigBasket, it works better, across these devices or these ad formats. Are there something there that you can share? Is there something there?
So uh, I think three trends. One is this whole growth of both the short form and as well as the big screen. So the two, in fact, there is also a Venn diagram of people watching shorts on the big screen on the CTV, which is an interesting trend. So one is that, and how do you, like you said, how do I create a format that is and grabs attention both on the big screen as well as on the small vertical scrollable screen. So that is one definite trend. So a lot of creative best practices around that, and even from a user consumer preference standpoint, we see them being more leaned in when they're watching when they're watching content on the big screen. It's a very linear TV like behavior. So I'm watching longer form content, and I'm more tolerant of slightly longer ads. So I'm okay watching a non-skip ad which is 15 seconds, 20 seconds, sometimes even 30 seconds, because this is my behavior. This is on the big screen. On the small screen, it's more snappy. And a lot of what Anand and Akash both spoke about, which is, can I make it more discovery led? Can I make it more actionable? I see something, I like it, it's impulse, I click on, like, it's a BigBasket ad, I click on it, he led with a discount, I clicked on it, I went and I added something to my cart and I bought the product. So it's more, here and now, what can I get somebody to do, and can I make some discovery happen? So this is one trend. The second one is, increasingly we see shoppability being a feature, or actionability, performance orientation becoming very mainstream and very important to all advertisers. This is a particularly post pandemic trend, and at YouTube we are making a lot of announcements, and if you caught Google Marketing Live, there were some specific announcements made in this direction. So you'll hear more of it as we localize the Google Marketing Live event in India as well. And which means that even when I'm watching something on the big screen, can I scan a QR code and take action on it? So we see a huge adoption of that from our advertisers, because this is what linear TV could not do. I could not drive that kind of actionability. So this is second big trend. The third trend that we are seeing is creators, which is, how can I get creators to convey a certain message, whether it is to drive awareness and discovery, or at the lower funnel saying, hey, go here, buy this now, from awareness, consideration to down to purchase. Leveraging creator made assets to sort of complement your brand made assets is a definite shift that we are seeing, even from like the largest advertisers. So if you hear, even Unilever globally wants creators to carry their message forward. So there will be a brand says and there will be others say. So that is a big focus area for all brands, big, small, and everyone is experimenting what works for me, what size, what length, what type of creators, what type of messaging, does it hit close to my brand value, etc., etc. But these three are like very, very here and present shifts in ads.
Has that, have CPMs improved? I don't know if you're in a position to talk about CPMs, but has it meant better CPMs? And I know I'm asking in front of an advertiser, but just wanted to know what's the
See, it's a
very
function.
bad. So
Yeah.
low that it's
Shubha, maybe I
so
can take
that's
that, right?
And Anand, please note, she says it's so low.
That you tell the market for all the other guys.
Yeah, actually, Vanita, it's very hard to tell why CPMs move up or down, because there are just too many factors. I mean, of course, there are changes in ad formats and things like that, but there's also advertiser intensity. It's very hard to tell, why. It's very hard to attribute one or two reasons why CPM is moved either up or down.
Okay. Anand, you just like I asked Shubha about formats, anything you see in how well your ads perform across genres within YouTube, and if you can, if you use YouTube, but you use some other media also. I mean, how do you make those comparisons? What are the metrics? Because there's YouTube, but there's also, I don't know if you use any other traditional media, whether it's print, TV, radio, whatever, or it is just YouTube and digital and Meta and that kind of stuff. So two questions here. One is efficacy within YouTube on different genres and efficacy across media compared to.
So we look at it at 4 levels, Vanita. One is input, right? And input is things like so we have tools which measure adherence to best practices of YouTube and other platforms, right? So we use one called Creative X. So we check, okay, out of 100 creatives that we have submitted, what percentage adheres to creatives and to what extent. So that is things like that. Second is we look at we want to achieve a certain reach and frequency mix, right? It's not merely one thing we've realized. It's not merely about views. We wanted to have a certain mix of reach and frequency. So whether we adhere to that, right? So things like that form part of the input set of metrics. Second is campaign metrics, and in campaign we look at things like brand lift, right? And brand lift studies can be set up on YouTube and other platforms as well. And the way we use brand lift is not whether a particular campaign has achieved brand lift or not, but for a given campaign, how does brand lift compare to historical benchmarks, right? So that's the way we look at campaign level metrics. The third level is mind metrics, right? Top of mind and consideration, and in our case, 10-minute delivery association, and so on and so forth. The fourth level is business metrics, which are things like, of course, it's sales, new customer acquisition. But in our case, since we have an app, we also look at brand mentions or brand searches on Play Store. So we look at it at all these 4 levels. And for a given campaign, right, we typically look at the input metrics and what we see on brand lift relative to benchmarks. And you can do that across platforms and so on and so forth.
Yeah, my question is for these 4 metrics, therefore, how do various genres work for you? I mean, do you find that cricket and IPL is more remunerative in that sense from your brand objective perspective, or is comedy more remunerative? What work? Is there some pattern there?
Yeah. So if we look at patterns, we have 2 years of data to go by, and it does appear that the IPL campaigns have been, a few of the most effective campaigns that they've ever run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Again, some of this I'm a little reluctant to, let's say, infer, because it's just been 2 years, but so looks like the lift is fairly large compared to all of the other campaigns that we've done.
Super. This has been good. I'm done with my questions, but I just want to ask Aakash one thing. That you're a cricketer, so you chose to use cricket but if you had to attempt some other genre, what would you do? And if you had to create concurrent content, what would it be?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Never thought of it, but I mean, storytelling. I mean, that's very close to my heart. In fact, the whole world is all about stories. Even financial market is stories. So we are storytellers. We are in that business. So that's what I like. I've got 2 little kids as well. So they write stories. I tell them stories, and it's a wonderful thing. So storytelling is where I would want to be.
That's a nice note to end on. Thank you so much, Anand, Shubha, Aakash. I enjoyed this conversation. I don't know about you guys, but
It was fun. Thank you. Thank you for having us and keeping it so snappy and engaging.